Hello and welcome to the Career Change Studio. This is the place to design and create a new working life so that you can live the way that you want and need in your next chapter. I'm Dana Stevens, certified career change coach, and I'm here to help you work out your next career move. I'm going to inspire you to think about this transition in brand new ways so that you can think differently about yourself and what's possible for you. You'll also learn how to build up your belief and self-confidence so that you can finally start taking action. This is about so much more than just getting another job. This is about changing the way you live your life for the better. Hello. Today on the podcast, I'm going to be continuing a little mini-series that I started last week where I'm going to be tackling some common myths about changing careers. And today, I'm taking on two of them. One is this idea that I might have invested so much time in my industry, job, career or company already that moving on would feel like a waste of all that time or effort or training. And I'm going to address why that isn't actually true. It's sometimes called the sunk cost fallacy, so we'll explore that in relation to changing careers a bit later on. And the other one is this idea that when you move sideways or change your career, you're going to have to start from scratch. I hear this a lot from people, this worry, this fear, this doubt. It's really pervasive and it holds lots of people back. So we're going to start with that one. For most people, when they get to midlife and they decide that the job they're doing now is no longer working for them or no longer a fit, even just the idea of having to start again can seem exhausting, can seem overwhelming and a reason to not even pursue a change. So let's talk about that today. Because the thing is, you really won't be starting from scratch, even if you do go on to do something completely different. I'm going to explain. When we think about starting from scratch or starting again in our careers, for most people, our brain goes back to this younger version of ourselves. You could have been maybe just 18 or 21 when you first started in the workplace. And back then, typically, we didn't know how things worked at all because we were brand new to the workplace. And so most of us were learning things about our industries at the same time as we were learning and getting up to speed on technology that was evolving rapidly. So we were learning about sending business emails or even how the internet worked or workplace technology systems, as well as whatever technical knowledge we needed for our roles. We also had to navigate the politics of a workplace, understanding hierarchies and the social or cultural norms of our industry. And we were also working on our own emotional intelligence, how to develop relationships in the workplace, how to deal with being managed or managing others, how to handle praise or criticism, or even the lack of any feedback at all. So if you think about everything that you had to learn at such a young age, you can probably connect back quite easily to that feeling of unease or feeling overwhelmed or clueless, or maybe even just totally scared because you didn't know things or how they worked. And this is what our brain likes to suggest might happen to us if we make a change now. We're going to definitely go back to that feeling of feeling as lost as we did when we first started out in the world of work, as if we'd be facing this huge hill to climb with all these new things to learn in front of us. But the reality is that when you change careers in midlife, you're not going right back to starting from scratch. You're not going back to that place of not knowing things or how things worked. You are starting from a place of experience. You've probably already learned how most of the basics of technology works. Even if you still have more to learn, you've got an awareness of technology now that you didn't have at the beginning of your career. You've got an awareness of workplace politics. You've developed emotional intelligence and resilience that's going to help you whatever you go on to do next. So it'll be different changing careers at this point in your life because you are different. You are no longer the same person you were in your early 20s or late teens. You have so much more strengths, skills, experience that you will be bringing with you. You've created this value within you, and that's what you're going to bring with you. You're not leaving that behind. And this is true whether you're sidestepping into another job, where your skills really will translate across to another industry. And it's also true even if you retrain and do something completely different. So, as an example, when I retrained to be a coach after leading a strategy team in advertising, I was moving into a completely different industry. Not only that, but I was also setting up my own business, something that I had never done before. But I wasn't starting from scratch. And I never told myself that. I never told myself, here you go, you're starting right at the beginning. Because I changed careers before, right? When I used to work in radio and then moved into the world of advertising and content, I knew how much I could rely on the skill sets and myself, the personal skills that I'd developed when I went into a new role. I knew that I was starting from experience. So many of the skills that make me a great coach have been forged in my previous careers. Listening skills that have come from years of working with others, communication skills developed by working with people across so many different industries and different levels of seniority, presentation skills I've developed when pitching or selling ideas to clients. I've just been developing skill sets and finessing how to use them and then bringing them into a new environment. Many of the things that I've needed to make it as an entrepreneur are about me building on personal qualities that I have developed throughout my corporate career. Emotional resilience, tenacity, being willing to get stuff wrong and knowing how to get back up again when stuff does go wrong. These are all things I've learned from previous careers. These are all things that I've brought with me. So while I was starting my business from scratch, in terms of my capabilities, I was starting from experience. And I really do want you to think about what this means for you. You will already have so much experience, so many personal qualities, and so many strengths that you will be bringing with you to whatever you do next. And this will give you a head start, even if you're starting something new. Let's say you're going to completely retrain, like one of my clients who was moved from an account management role in marketing to retraining as a carpenter. They had to learn the basics of carpentry. And alongside some college learning, they secured an apprenticeship. And this doesn't have to be starting from scratch either. If you think about an 18-year-old doing their first apprenticeship in carpentry and how much they would have to learn alongside those technical aspects, they have to learn about communication, about responsibility in the workplace, about etiquette, like how to talk to people, how to talk to clients in a professional way, building relationships. And then you think about my client making that change in midlife. They have already got excellent communication skills. They're already really comfortable talking to a client directly about what they want. And they have the skills to handle client requests for changes or even a difficult conversation or conflict. They know how to build relationships with colleagues. They understand about progression and hard work. Yes, of course, there's going to be some areas where they're going to have to learn things like the technical side, but they've already got so much experience in all the other areas that you need to bring to the workplace. And in midlife, you're also typically coming into a new job with the knowledge that you are someone who has had a level of success in the workplace previously. So you can build on that self-concept as someone who can achieve things, who can make some progress. And I would like to offer you this, that thinking about the fact that you're going to be starting from a place of experience can be transformative. This is because of how much what you think affects what you feel and ultimately what you do. If you think, I'm going to have to start from scratch, and you stay with that thought and that's all you think about, typically this can make you feel really unmotivated, despondent. It can be really heavy. You could feel overwhelmed. And this might mean that you procrastinate and don't take any action at all because you can't see the point. Right? And it feels like you're going to have to go back to those emotions you don't want to, that feeling lost. So you limit your thinking to only options that are really close to what you're doing now, things that maybe aren't making you happy. So you never give yourself the opportunity to explore what's possible for you. Whereas if you think I'm starting from a place of experience, you're much more likely to really build belief in the value that you will be bringing with you to another role. And by focusing on what those skills and personal qualities are, you are more likely to keep your options open and explore a wider range of ideas. It's also going to give you more confidence to try something new, knowing that you already have some of the other skills that are foundations that you're building upon. And that's how I want you to think about this. If you're making a change, if you're making a transition, think about everything you have now as a foundation. You're not going back to scratch. You're already starting from these foundations of experience. And this leads me on to the other myth that I want to tackle. And that's this idea that if I change careers now, everything I've already worked for will be wasted. This comes up a lot from people, especially if you might have spent years or even decades training in something, becoming an expert. And I've worked with nurses and teachers who talk about spending years increasing their knowledge in their chosen field and worrying that it might feel like a waste to walk away from it. But you could feel like this in any industry, right? It doesn't have to be something vocational. You could have done lots of professional development. You might find the idea of leaving that behind difficult, even if that job or industry is no longer working for you or is no longer a fit, or worse, is making you stressed or even ill. And as I mentioned at the beginning, there's even a name for this, right? It's called the sunk cost fallacy. And the definition of this is a phenomenon where a person is reluctant to abandon a strategy or course of action because they have invested heavily in it, even when it's clear that abandonment would be beneficial. Now, this sunk cost fallacy applies to small things like carrying on reading a book that you're finding really boring or watching a terrible film just because you think you've already invested time or money in it. But it scales all the way up to big life decisions, such as if you've made a really bad financial investment. That's where that sort of phrase comes from, throwing good money after bad. But ultimately, it's a thought error. Our brain is thinking that it's doing the right thing and trying to protect us, but ultimately, it's actually misinterpreting the information. So what can we do about it? Well, firstly, we want to build awareness around this. Ask ourselves, is this what my brain is doing? Is it trying to tell me that something will be a waste, in inverted commas, even though if I did carry on with things as they are now, they might actually get worse for me? And typically that term, a sunk cost, it relates to something that's gone, that you're not getting back. But this is where we want to shift our thinking about it, because I really want you to not just keep looking backwards at our past. And instead, we've got to really stay future focused. Ask ourselves, does this continued investment of time, money, or effort really help me create the future that I want? If I've redefined my goals or my personal circumstances have changed, or I do want to set new goals, does this help me achieve the life, the working life that I want? And I might even want to get really honest with myself and say, what are the actual outcomes? What will actually happen if I stay on this work path that isn't working out for me now? And when we're thinking about careers, it isn't strictly true, I don't think, to think of time, effort, or money as something that you've invested, something that's sunk, i.e., something you're not getting back. Because the good news about what you do next, like I said it earlier, is that you will be taking so much with you. You're not starting from scratch. All of your past experience will be giving you this foundation that I was talking about. You'll have learned things about yourselves, have developed life skills, communication skills, cognitive functions, emotional advancements because of what you've done. Those things will be translatable into a new role, even if the technical aspects aren't. All of the things that you've learned have changed you or helped you grow in some way, and you get to take that better, stronger, more experienced version of you into your next role. Like I said before, you take your value with you from one role to another. Also, you just never know when those skills or knowledge or specialist technical skills will be valuable again. Here's a great example. When I left my first career in radio, I was really sad that I wouldn't get to edit audio ever again, right? I really liked that part of the job, sitting and editing after an interview or a studio session. It was a part of the role that I really enjoyed. And I had spent a long time learning how to use that very specific editing software. And I had no way of knowing that so many years later, I'd be here with you now and using those exact same editing skills to edit my own podcast. But even without a direct translation of the technical skills, it can be helpful to think about what you've learned about yourself in your previous roles. So when I think about my ability to learn new skills, all the things that I have learned in the different jobs that I've done, it makes me think I'm good at learning new things. So when I was considering retraining to be a coach and even setting up my own business, that's what I leaned into. I was thinking, I can do that. I have got evidence that I've learnt new things in the past, that I enjoy learning new things, that I like to master things. So this is what I want you to think about this week. If you've been stuck in a loop thinking about how much you're going to be leaving behind, how much you've already invested in terms of your time or money in your current or previous career, instead, I want you to start trying to reframe those thoughts in your mind from this week. I'm going to give you some questions that you can think about. You can write down your answers, you can just ponder them on a walk or just think about them, but it might just help you think differently about a couple of things. So, what have I learned about myself from doing the career I've been doing? I really want you to think about what it means for you, the learnings about yourself that have come from this, right? And I don't mean like, have I learned how to do spreadsheets? I mean, what have I learned from all the experiences I've been through, right? By that, I mean like the way you learn things, the way you take on information, what you know then about what you like or don't like, or where you excel or don't excel, what you want to lean into in the future. You can then ask yourself, if I don't make changes, would I be continuing to invest time, effort, and maybe even money in something that isn't really working for me? Does that make rational sense? And what personal qualities do I have now that maybe I didn't have at the beginning of my career, but now they're with me? Now they're part of me and who I am. So hopefully those provoke some interesting reflections for you. That's all for this week. Really do try and continue to think about the place of experience that you're in now and how that will be a foundation for you to start something new from. Okay, bye for now. And if you want to start making changes to your working life, come and talk to me. You can book a free consultation with me where we'll talk about your personal situation, what's really holding you back, and what you can do differently to start making changes. I'll let you know what type of career change coaching is going to help you, and you can ask me any questions about your personal situation or about my proven process, the Life First Career Method, a method that helps people like you change your career so that you can change your life. Just visit my website, danastevens.com. That's DANASTEVENS.com, and click on the link to book a consultation. Or you can find the link in the show notes. If you've enjoyed this podcast, make sure you get your weekly fix of inspiration and career change guidance by clicking follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if you'd like to rate and review the podcast, that would really help me get this in front of people who also might be feeling stuck and lost. So I'd really appreciate your help. And if you know anyone, friends, family, even colleagues, who might be thinking about changing careers, please do share this podcast with them. You might just be the person that helps them change their lives for the better.